Right to Rise USA is responsible for the content of this message. Some say we are in a decline, maybe for good.
The economy is going backwards.
Open up.
In Washington, there's plenty of blame to go around. The leadership has not been there, where they are making decisions that are good for themselves, but not for the rest of us. We are working harder, longer, making it work. But it's okay to doubt what lays ahead. We want an America where opportunities await our kids. Our safety is not in doubt. Our military might is unmatched. Our faith holds us together. Innovation happens here first, and we don't leave our people behind. There is good news ahead for America. We just need a steady hand to lead us there.
Love you. Bye. See you later.
Someone who's used to making bold, courageous decisions and fixing the problem before it's a crisis. If we get that leader, we can fix what is broken. We can break the gridlock in Washington. But who is it? But who is it?
He is fair, he is forthright, and thoughtful.
He was an extremely successful governor.
He took command because he was ready to lead.
Quite conservative and successful record.
He cut taxes every year. He cut the government.
More jobs, less debt.
Believes in the power of faith.
A tremendous conservative governor with a great record of achievement.
The lowest unemployment rate, the biggest tax cuts.
And that's the kind of leader our nation is ready for.
Will be a great president of the United States of America.
So here's what it comes down to. Our country's on a very bad course. And the question is, what are we going to do about it? The question for me is, what am I going to do about it? And I've decided I'm a candidate for President of the United States of America.
Faith, family, conservative principles. That's Jeb. But to really know him, to know the man, understand he's always charted his own course. From the beginning, that's knowing Jeb.
I was a senior in high school, and an exchange program. I was in León, Guanajuato, Mexico. I was in the town square, and I saw my wife, and I fell in love at first sight.
That was back in 1971, and I was driving with my sister.
So she was going around in the backseat of a car, and our eyes met, and it was just electrifying for me.
3 days later, we have like a blind date. In those days, we took it very slow.
She finally said, yeah, I love you too. So we got married.
After we got married and have 2 children.
I went to work and we started our life. And then we moved to Miami on January 1st, 1981.
Miami was a wonderful place for a family to start.
Miami was dynamic. People could come from anywhere to start their lives, and Gloom and I did that.
He's been a wonderful husband, an unbelievable father, an incredible grandfather.
I love being a granddad. It's the best thing in the world. It keeps me centered, it keeps me focused about the important things.
He's a man with great values, and the most important thing is that he has a great heart.
If you are blessed with a great life, you have a duty, I think, an obligation to give back. My dad taught me the value of service and service to others.
A culmination of his own journey. Taking on big challenges comes naturally to Jeb.
Jeb is a candidate for governor of Florida, and he wants to say a few words to you.
I'm a candidate for governor because of the future, not the past. A lot of people think because I'm the son of a famous man that somehow I'm running for governor for that reason. It really relates more to my children, to the children of Florida, that motivates me to run.
He has a genial manner, and he manages to say very tough things, very conservative things, in a very humane-sounding way. I think he's a natural, but I think he bit off a very big hunk here.
I will stay focused on ideas and the advocacy of fundamental change because, my friends, if we stand pat with what we have, we're going to ensure that our children will have fewer opportunities than what they deserve. I lost in 1994, and it was the best campaign I had because I got to learn from losing. In fact, successful people will always tell you that their greatest successes come from adversity, come from losing, because it allows you to pause and assess what went wrong. And I did that. And in 1998, I decided to run again, and I decided to do it a little bit differently. I decided I wanted to listen first, learn along the way, which would allow me then to lead. Listen, learn, lead.
He spent the time between elections to really more deeply educate himself.
He was much more grounded in himself and much more grounded in the state.
1/3 of our kids don't graduate. I've gone to schools where children are reading in 5th grade level in 9th grade. We need to change this, and Jeb Bush and Frank Brogan will do it. And you know why I know this? I know it because I've gone to visit 200 schools. I set up one of the first independent public schools in this state. We can do this.
In 1998, Jeb came back to win the Florida governorship, taking the long-term view of where he wanted to take a state, and then doing it.
This is a victory for fresh ideas, for new ideas, and of offering hope rather than dividing.
Jeb's mission was to disrupt an old order that badly needed a shakeup.
I want a state government to be an ally, not an adversary of positive change within each community. I want to protect people, not bureaucracies. I want state government to be more respectful of the earnings of Florida's families, not more desirous. I want our leaders more trustful of the choices of our citizens, not more suspicious.
And when Jeb Bush set his 2 feet in Tallahassee as the new governor of Florida, everything changed.
He was a brash outsider from Miami who spoke Spanish, and that was not what they were used to up here.
Many people thought that it was Jeb that was going to get the education.
That didn't happen under him. One tax cut wasn't enough. He had to do more. It wasn't enough to have 15,000 kids with school choice in Florida. He wanted to have 100,000 kids.
If he didn't like a project, it was going to be vetoed.
It didn't matter if you were a Republican. It didn't matter if you were his best friend.
He said, this is where we're going. This is how we're going to reform state government.
Every politician comes in talking about making change, and generally there's not much change. But Governor Bush made a lot of change.
He got the nickname Vito Corleone.
If he saw something in the budget that he thought violated his conservative principle, you could guarantee it was going to get whacked.
He vetoed a bunch of my stuff, and I was the Senate president.
Some people talk about changing government, but Jeb has done it, never backing down, plowing ahead, and winning for the people.
My first year, gosh, I think we vetoed over $300 million of vetoes, and it was a big shock because the legislature had never gone through this. They'd had their way kind of for a long while, pat the little governor on the head and, just expected what I was saying not to be true. It was grounded in principle. It was not political for me to do this, and it wasn't punitive. Friends of mine got their projects vetoed as well if it didn't go through a process. But it brought order to a political process that never had it. We made a difference in the lives of a lot of people because we changed a lot of the rules that had never been changed before.
Jeb didn't just talk about conservative education reform. He did it on a grand scale.
And I know how to do this because as governor of the state of Florida, I created the first statewide voucher program in the country, the second statewide voucher program in the country, and the third statewide voucher program in the country. And we had rising student achievement across the board. And Florida's low-income kids had the greatest gains inside the country. Our graduation rate improved by 50%. That's what I'm for.
Part of leadership requires not just passing a bill through the legislature or having an interesting idea that you can give a speech about. It's to stay with it. It's to take on these big institutions that are broken and plow through, just fight through the morass to get to a better outcome.
Floyd's moving west, a massive hurricane.
A leader facing crisis, Jeb has made the tough decisions.
I'm proud of how millions of people rolled up their sleeves to take care of their neighbor during 8 hurricanes, 4 tropical storms in 16 months. It wasn't in the playbook when I got elected. They didn't say, okay, get ready for 8 hurricanes, 4 tropical storms. In Florida, we delivered. You learn these things if you're all in, right? You learn these things by experience. You don't talk about things on the sidelines. We need leadership in Washington, D.C.
Seeing this guy governs in times of crisis, there's not a close call. Who compares to Jeb Bush for a leader.
Jeb's story is about action, doing. He accomplished what he had set out to do, fix a broken government, to enact real conservative change, making Florida #1 in America in job creation, higher personal incomes, historic education reforms, a state government completely transformed.
Jeb Bush is a leader. And what I mean by that is he doesn't put his finger in the air and try to figure out where the policies are going or where public opinion is going. He figures out what's right and what's wrong. And he takes a position and he fights for it. He's willing to take on the status quo in a way that I have never seen from any other politician in my life.
We haven't seen that type of leadership in a long time, but we expect it, and we should. Jeb is in New Hampshire, listening.
What's your view on this?
If nothing is done,
and learning.
I love that you just asked him what his opinion was, that you were listening, because we've been to another person's event and he doesn't listen.
Working to bring us together.
Thank you, sir.
Leading.
14%.
Offering conservative solutions to bring us forward.
6 million more people are in poverty today than the day that Barack Obama got elected president. 6 million more. The middle class, for the first time in any so-called recovery, has declining income. Workforce participation rates are lower than they were in 1977. 6.5 million people are working part-time. The majority of them want to work full-time, but they can't. This is not America the way we want it. If we fix the most convoluted tax code in the world, if we fix the mind-numbing regulatory system that makes it harder for the next generation of people that want to create jobs for America, if we embrace the energy revolution in our midst rather than trying to push it aside as this president and his administration has done, if we fix our entitlement system to preserve and protect it for those that have it, but also reform it so that the next generation will have a fighting chance to get it as well, if we deal with the structural deficits as far as the eye can see, all of those things, if we fix them, we'll grow at 4%. I promise you that. And when we do, we'll be much more optimistic as a nation, and we will assure that our children and grandchildren will have more opportunities than what we had. That's the mission I'm on.
This was a vicious, diabolical attack carried out by Islamic terrorists.
It likely took upwards of a dozen people to plan and execute an attack of this magnitude.
The threat to America is real. One man is tested. Jeb is ready to lead.
We are at war with radical Islamic terrorism. It is the war of our time. America has had enough of empty words. President Obama doesn't see a reason to change course. Hillary Clinton said that her foreign policy would be no more aggressive or forward-leaning than his.
Jeb, he understands the danger.
The fate of millions, the security of our own people, all depend on the decisions we make in these coming years. The United States should not delay in leading a global coalition to take out ISIS with overwhelming force. In my administration, security for the United States will mean gaining and keeping the edge in every category, old and new. Our armed forces need to know that the Commander-in-Chief has their back, and I will.
A proven conservative.
Indivisible, with liberty.
A president for these times. Jeb.
My message will be an optimistic one because I am certain that we can make the decades just ahead the greatest time ever to be alive in this world. I will campaign as I would serve, going everywhere, speaking to everyone, keeping my word. I will take nothing and no one for granted. I will run with heart, and I will run to win.
Now it's your turn. Visit thejebstory.com to download the official movie poster and share this film with family and friends. Right to Rise USA is responsible for the content of this message.